For some reason, my Beogram 2200, the buttons have suddenly stopped working. It's spinning, won't stop, won't pause, speed will change, so we'll have to strip it down, find out what's going on. So at this point, I've only stripped the bottom of it at once before. That was to lubricate the arms. So we removed the stylus for safekeeping. Don't want to damage that. You know the cost of those. Quite an expensive cartridge. Let's flip it over. I did forget to take the plate off. I went to, but forgot. And you'll see it'll fall out in a second. Bang, there it goes. So, standard Phillips screwdrivers. Now, the front end I've never took apart under the controls. So here I'm doing this blind. I've never done it before, so I'm just feeling my way along and hope it helps somebody out there. Apparently this is a common problem with these machines. They get corroded over. Up until about 6 months ago, this machine hadn't been used for, I'd have said, 30 years. So it was a nice gift from my brother-in-law. He had it brand new. So it's been in the family for a very long time. And I do like these systems. Now you've got to be very careful. A couple of the LEDs don't work on the front of the panel. When you open it up, you can see the LED wires. They're as thin as hairs on your head. Now a couple of them had already broke by the looks of it, because they're not working. And unfortunately, at the end of this, I believe I broke the last one, one of the ones that was working. So, but never mind, it doesn't stop the performance of the machine. It slowly. I'll take the base plate back off. You can look inside. When I got this, the arm wouldn't work. It was stuck. It wouldn't lift. So I stripped it down at the time and cleaned it and lubricated it, and now it works until today. Perfect. Fairly easy to take apart. If you look at it, there's not many screws hold it together. As you can see, the little red piece there, that's your speed adjust. Bit of a brush off just to get some excess dust off it. It was a bit dusty. See, told you, it fell off. But I took it off and put it to one side. Sorry about the camera angle here. I do realise, and I do move the camera. There we go. Now there's 8 screws in total holding the control panel sensor buttons in. Now push the cable through, give it a bit more length, so you've got a bit of movement. We'll take the 8 screws out, which are these ones there, for one side, for the other. Don't pull on too hard. As I say, these LEDs are glued in and connected by 2 wires on each, which are so thin. As I said before, about the thickness of a hair. A couple of them had broke already, just through age, corrosion, I suppose. But I didn't notice at the time, but when I tested it afterwards, LEDs had gone off, so I presumed I'd broke them. But it doesn't affect it. Somebody's whistling outside. Anyway, sorry about the elbow. It's a nice elbow, but I'm sorry it's in the way. I was more concerned about getting this stripped and fixed, because I do play it on a daily basis, and I have done for a while. The sensor buttons, which you'll see in a minute, they're not soldered in. They're a copper plate with 2 little pins on. There you go. You see the corrosion on them and the dust. See, that one's hanging out, that one's hanging out, and that one's hanging out. They just slide in. They're not locked or soldered. Unfortunately, I do pull one out by accident, and they're a nightmare to put back in, especially with my eyesight. So, next step, we'll use some alcohol, some tape cleaning solution. I've just gone off to get a little container to put it in. There we go. Tape transport cleaning. It's for your tape heads and your tape recorders and things, but I use it on a lot of electronics. It seems to work well. Brush, soak it, and clean the board and the contacts where possible. And all that muck and dust just disappeared. And just here, oops, pause, one of them fell off. I just picked it up, making sure the others are all in place. I'll push the others back in that were hanging out earlier. But they're very fiddly, and my eyesight ain't that good, even with my glasses on. That's it, back in. Give the rest of it a clean. I will flip the camera around the opposite side very soon. See how I mean, little copper pad just sits there, pressure of the button holds it in position, and as you push the button it pushes the dome down in the centre, which makes contact with the board, making your switches work. But there was a lot of corrosion and dust in between them, which the brush managed to get rid of. I was going to speed some of these bits up in the video, but I thought, second thoughts, I'll leave it as is so you can see it can be a little time consuming just getting little fiddly bits back in. Once I'd done this and started to put it all back together, I then realised I'd fitted the speed controller on back to front, so I had to strip it all back down and then put it all back together again. I've hunted around the internet over the last 24 hours looking for any tutorials on how to do this, and there was nothing. There was a couple of service manuals. A couple of people mentioned that this would be the problem, but there was nowhere actually showed you how to do it or what to do. So hence I've made this video. Hopefully it'll help a few of you audiophiles out there, help you out, especially with the Bang & Olufsen. Fantastic kit. I've always liked it since I was a teenager in the 70s. Change the camera around. Big zoom. very fiddly to do this bit. As I say, I realised at the time I'd put it on back to front. But if you take your time, don't rush anything, and put it back together, you should be fine. See how the dial's facing the front? It shouldn't be, it should be facing internally towards the turntable. But I didn't realise that until I finished putting it back, this part back together. But hey ho, there's just something about vinyl that I just prefer towards CDs and MP3s. It's a nostalgia thing, I think. The vinyl collection's getting quite big now. Half of them are from what I had when I was a teenager through the 80s. But I must admit I've bought a lot of vinyl over the last 6 months or so, new and old. I've got a fantastic place I go to when we're not in lockdown. It's a place called Northern Rocks, which is based in Kiwi Trading. It's a large antique emporium, and he has a section of the store in Hartlepool. A guy called Phil. There's some fantastic stuff in there. He also does jukeboxes, original old jukeboxes, new vinyl, old vinyl. Fantastic place. I spend hours in there when I get a chance. I spend a fortune too. Back to this. It's let's see, I'll just put it back together, and then in a couple of minutes I'll realise that I've put it back incorrectly. And I've even got my wife into the vinyl again now. She does like it. She uses the streaming services a lot, but we also go back. She goes back to the vinyl when I'm not in. If I'm at work, she'll put something on. You don't realise how expensive vinyl is these days. And it's going to dawn on me any second about the speed controller. Yeah, I'm touching it. I still don't twig. Then I look at it and go, bugger. Da, da, da. There we go. I'm looking at it now. Balls. So I'll speed the next step up, next bit of the clip up, because it's just me dismantling it and putting it back together. So I'm now putting the last of the screws in. Almost got it back together. Thumbs up. I think there's 2 screws to go. Put the base back on. Put the turntable back in. Connect the stylus. And she'll be back up and running. And hopefully, at the end of the video, we've got a fixed unit. Cost me nothing to repair, barring my time. One family member just said, "Oh, just go out and buy a new one." Sacrilege. 40 odd years old, this thing. Fantastic sound. Glass brush, get some dust off it. Give the inside a bit of a sprinkle. And we'll put the base back on. And I did put a protective sheet on, not to protect the wife's dining room table, but to protect the lid of the machine. Sorry, darling. Hooks on at the back. Just clips down, 2 screws back in. The screws have got a little circlip on them so they don't fall off the base when you undo it. So you don't have to worry about losing those screws. Back together. And voila. Stylus back on and turntable back in. Checking the belt to make sure it hadn't come off. And stylus. Very good needle. Still got a good bit of life left in it. At £200 for a new one. This better last me. It can be retipped. I think it's about 130 euros. We've got to send it to, can't remember, Italy or somewhere to do it. And there we go. Fingers crossed. I know we've fixed them, I hope. Give it a test. Oh. Start. Yeah, we're spinning. That went on okay. Turn that down for copyright reasons. Press the pause. Pause is working. Press turn. Not working. Go back to start. Speed. Yep. Speed adjust. Yep, working. Call that a success. My bad, turn button does work. There we go. And it'll stop as soon as you take your finger off, which you're supposed to do. Now we're going to test 33 RPM. Start. Currently at 34, so we can go to the adjuster. On 33.3. There we go. 33.3 spot on.